any further discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, the next item on the agenda is regarding the soon-to-be open township seat as of May 3rd, 2019. I will mention that we have to move forward very quickly on this because we only have 45 days to have this position filled.
Sorry, I thought this was Cal Lake. Sorry.
Oh. No? No,
No,
Cal Lake is
okay.
okay. Sorry, that's okay. That's all right. All right. So. Oh, were you finished? Yes, I'm fine. I am. Yes. So,
I guess what makes most sense for me is and this, we need to discuss this. Like Ms. Marcy mentioned, we need to have somebody in place in 45 days. So I guess the suggestion is to open up to applicants on May 4, publish it in the newspaper, and just open it up to applicants until it's filled, until we have a pool of people, qualified people to choose from.
And I think specifically, I'm not, if you said this, I apologize, but we need to be ready to, place an ad in the commercial record on Monday, stating that the supervisor's position is open and we are accepting applicants until pick a date towards the end of May. Because the goal, I believe, is to make this appointment at the June meeting.
That would be a best case scenario, and what we would hope for would be the June 5 meeting if we have qualified applicants.
right.
Right.
And then do we need to motion to approve because money will be spent on an ad in the newspaper for the position?
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't?
I don't think we need a motion.
Well,
We accepted the resignation, and we have budget. We place ads in the paper and on our website.
I don't know if those are a regular part of it. Doesn't hurt anything, and
it doesn't hurt.
just that we're all in agreement to open up that applicant process on May 4 and to publish it in the newspaper. I don't think that hurts anything. So with that, I move to open up this township supervisor seat for applicants May 4, 2019, and publish it in the commercial record.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes. Yes.
All opposed? All right, the motion carries. Okay. Now we are on to, we need a representative to serve on the Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Board. That was formerly Trustee Rourke that served on that position.
So that seat will be open as of May 3rd as well.
I've been going to the meetings, and I feel you really need a representative with some technical experience in this area. So hopefully we'll get some applications and from the public to sit on that board. So we're gonna.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to suggest, and you were probably going to say this anyway next. Let's combine that in the ad we run next week, so we can get that notice out. And then hopefully, if Stacy's still able to attend the meeting in May, just to be there and hear what's going on, that would be ideal. And the goal would be that we are able to appoint someone also at the June meeting.
Okay. I would just be happy to go to the next meeting,
That's great, that's great.
representing us. So,
Thank you for that.
okay, we need a motion or we'll just put that in there with the other ad.
We move to open up, applicants
Yeah.
for correct,
Okay.
publish it,
Okay.
yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to open up the process of appointing someone to the Cal Lake Board and advertise it in the commercial record with our supervisor opening too.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Okay.
Well, Vicki, but you didn't say when, to open up the applicant process.
Monday, December.
I would open it the
The
same time, yes.
I don't remember when.
May 4th?
May 4th.
Right. All in favor, please say yes.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
All opposed? Motion carries. And everybody here, spread the word. We have good lines of communication in Saugatuck, both formal and informal, so please spread the word. Okay, next, we have the Frank Walsh, proposal. John, did you want to address that, please?
Yeah, well, I was gonna suggest, and, Abby sort of did some of this earlier, items G, H, and I are extremely related, so let me
Okay.
say this first about them.
Okay.
We, just to remind people, it was just a week ago, Wednesday, we had a special meeting where we accepted the resignation of our manager and zoning administrator. The good news is, and I mean, the three of you and me jumped up to what we needed to do on Thursday, reached out. We had some proposals on the table back in December when we had an opening for zoning and manager, so we were able to kind of revisit where we had been in December before we hired Natalie, and then and some other opportunities arose. So I'm actually looking right here at, so yes, there's the Frank Walsh proposal, which is more of a manager-related and staffing analysis, which we had voted to do back in November, I believe, and would include some of the zoning and assessment issues and working with us on budget preparation. So Frank's proposal, I believe, came in yesterday. It's been sort of a mad dash, but the response has been really, really good. There are two other proposals, one that came in Monday and one that came in this morning. These are specifically for planning and zoning consultation. One of the proposals would actually include time in the office, which I think we all know is critical and very important. And I'll just say that both of these, one is, as you said, Williams and Words, the other is Align Planning. Both of those firms have a history in the area, and one in particular did zoning and planning for the city of Douglas under a consultation agreement for I think 3 or 4 years. So that gives me comfort. But I wanted to address them sort of as a group because we can share them and make them public. We're not, I don't think, in a position tonight to vote on any of them. Right now,
interesting, as I look at these, John, I was wondering, do you think, okay, so Williams and Works, when they submitted their last proposal, they did it more like, what is it, aligned? Where they proposed,
Yes.
they proposed a monthly rate, depending on if it's a 4-week month or a 5-week month, and whether it's 1 or 2 days a week. With the Williams and Works, what they did is they proposed an hourly rate,
Yep.
and there's just no way to get a graph on what, you know what I mean, what that would actually end up costing us.
No, exactly. I was very surprised by that because I was very explicit when we spoke. I think we finally connected last Friday, and I said, give them the date. You have a proposal that you was waiting for our acceptance and signature in December, so that's where I would suggest we start. And as you said, they came back with a very different framework.
Yes. Yes, and also Williams and Works did state that right at the moment they are not well enough staffed to spend any time in the office.
I know. They had some changes there too.
Right.
They said if that would change that availability. I think
Right.
that is spot on.
Right.
Unlike a line, which can spend time in the office.
Right, right. It's interesting to see the comparisons of these.
Yeah.
And then with Walsh, who also gave us a proposal in the fall, there's quite a difference, but the scope of work is so much larger, correct, on the Walsh proposal?
Well, we went back with our 8-point priorities, and
Right, okay. Okay,
he really stuck with that because everyone said, staffing analysis is key and moving forward. And I'm just throwing out things that people have said. These are not necessarily things I'm thinking, but we've had people say things depending on how we staff up. Is it a manager we need, or more of an operations person? We clearly need a zoning person, or you can contract your zoning out on a longer term basis, as long as you have a safety factor, which I would prefer, where you have maybe a 30 or 60-day out. But no, that's fine. We put staffing on top of the list, and he put it number 1. It was number 2 on our list.
so what are you suggesting for next steps, given that these are pretty much urgent positions?
Yes, I think what we need to do is the 4 of us need to kind of divvy this up and huddle, even just 1 or 2 of us, because of the open
Right.
meetings act, which I'm hearing a lot about that here this week too. It's something everyone is challenged by across the state. But yes, so that we can thoughtfully get back to these people and have a discussion / negotiation and get to the next step. I would hope would be to have one, maybe not all of them, depending on how we're thinking, but we need a more of a finalized proposal that we can then move forward on, because I think we all agree the goal is to get someone here ASAP. And again, this is hypothetical. Maybe we make a decision on the zoning portion first. Maybe we can do that by Monday or maybe Tuesday, depending on which of us is working on it versus at the election. And then consider the Walsh proposal as something that could kick in later. And we could, again, in my view, everything's open for discussion. We could go with a shorter term. My first reaction on Frank's proposal compared to the one he did in December is this seems more expensive, but he's probably factoring in the fact that there's some urgency here, and he might have to spend more time working with us, and maybe more time being in the office than he would in a more traditional arrangement like he was proposing in December, which was more of a study analysis plus search.
So are you proposing then that we, again, I've been kind of stuck on the urgency of the situation.
I know.
Are you suggesting, with Walsh, maybe we could take a couple of those other items out, because I'm thinking of using him for the immediate, for what we need now. But, are you suggesting then that we would have a special meeting and then we could actually choose, because I'm sure this has to be done with a vote, correct?
Jack, can I sound in on that while you're thinking?
What was that, Abby?
Do you mind if I sound in on this issue while you're thinking?
I don't think he's thinking.
Oh, go ahead. You were silent for a minute.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Okay, that's okay.
I didn't think you got that.
Yeah.
I guess, I think we need to ask someone else the answers to that question, Brenda.
Okay.
It would seem to me that if our zoning administrator position is open, and we need to bring someone in on a temporary basis, I think we have the authority to do that. If we need a special meeting to vote, that's great, we can do it. It'll just delay things.
Okay. All right.
I think there's
I
going to
think we
be,
need to get some more input on that, whether it's from the MTA or one of our councils.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a delay anyway. We received, I guess, for me at least, the zoning issue is the most prominent. It's the priority. I have looked over the other proposals, but for me, the zoning is, that's the position we need filled. That's the biggest priority. So, but we received these two zoning proposals, the Williams and Works April 30, the Aligned Planning today. So we need to, I've looked over both of them several times. I have several questions, I am leaning towards the Aligned Planning because of the office time, but I do have questions, and it does seem like a attractive and workable offer. I do have some real questions that would be needed to be answered before I would vote on it if there is a vote needed. So there will be delays anyway. I would think that perhaps we don't need a special meeting, but I would think that we probably do to go ahead and authorize going ahead with one of these proposals.
Isn't there an emergency type, thing that we can hire this and approve it at the next meeting? Like maybe we can take the next few days, all of us look at it, get together separately, share our ideas, and then we can hire somebody and then approve it at the next meeting.
Right, but I don't think we can sign a contract or anything like that.
Well,
But we could in exigent circumstances.
For our attorney.
Right,
That,
right.
if that's copacetic, then great. If not, we'll need to set a special meeting to vote on it.
I think we should just go and, like how I just suggested, that we all work on this next couple days, come to a decision, and then appoint a next meeting. So that's my opinion.
And I do want to make it clear that we are working around the clock to get these positions filled because it's building season, there's all kinds of stuff going on, and there's a lot of traffic. So just want to make everybody aware that we are incredibly aware of how important it is to fill not just this position, but other ones and others that we'll talk about soon. I'm okay with tabling this, but we'll have to get on it right away, even with the election. So I wouldn't think of appointing Abby.
I'm hoping by this week we can
We have
get
someone,
somebody in
yep.
here.
When you're saying get somebody in here,
Or
we kind of lumped all these items G, H, and I all in one, which,
We should probably pull MTS out, maybe.
and, when we're talking about when you guys are saying getting somebody in here, are you suggesting for all of those?
No,
or just the zoning?
for zoning.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think we should wait on the other, actually, the MTS.
I think we need more information on those, and that we would be meeting with them and, hunting down, clarifying some of these things that are a little ambiguous on their, proposals, and, also just assessing, the permitting work that is being done in our office right now.
Right. And in their defense, we wanted these proposals fixed. So it makes sense that there would be some questions that we have to resolve. So I'm okay with tabling it. Stacy, you okay with that?
I don't hear anybody,
John, you okay with that?
Okay. Yes, I think as you said, we're gonna jump on
Okay.
this, review, make our comments, and then decide, which, as I said, teams of two leads which discussion with which party, and try to get to them
Yep.
this week. She said,
agree.
All right, but we'll
So
continue.
yeah, that was a long-winded way of saying, I think in terms of action tonight, we can table G, H, and I.
Okay, okay. Sounds good. All right, moving on. We have, we want to talk about a special meeting in May for a budget discussion. And John, did you have?
Yeah, let me just say, I mean, I've made reference to this a few times today, but, our budget for the fiscal year 2020, which starts on July 1st, that means it goes into effect. We have to vote to approve that in early June, and we have to have a special public budget meeting as well. I'm proposing, because of that time frame, that we do a special meeting in May, obviously public invited, but primarily I want us, the four of us, to be able to discuss the whole wide range impact of anything we might envision differently in the budget next year. So it'd be a combination of wish list discussions on expenditures, whether it's physical plan improvement or something like that, or a personnel ahead position. It's also a way to talk again in a very open manner. Are there things in expenses we can cut or do less of, and also confirm the revenue. And we've got to do that. The good news is I've got quite a history in budgeting, but this is not something that can be done alone. I've already had conversations that have been week before last. Our auditor might be helpful with this, and there's other people in the area that can help and assist us. But the bottom line is this is a very, very hard deadline, and that's why I want to get this meeting. I figure we have to get to the election. Plus, I'll just be honest, I have everything. Natalie was quite a way down the path with a proposed budget for next year. I have all that material. I have access to it, and she gave me quite a binder to study. So, for me to get up to speed to even hold this meeting, that's why I'm proposing we wait until the dates that, I threw out 3 dates, May 17, 20, or 22. And I think this special meeting, because of the nature, needs to be during the day. So we have access if we need information that might be on the computers or in the BSNA system or something. And I think we should prepare that this be at least a 2-hour meeting, possibly 3.
Okay, and did we want to set that date now?
If we can.
Okay.
If we can, I mean, yeah, we don't have to set it today, but like I said, those 3 work for me. And again, I think this needs to be daytime. And I want to stress, this is not the normal annual budget public meeting.
Right.
That's
Okay.
done when there's a final budget to be presented. This is really mainly so we can all talk and not violate open meetings about the budget and
Okay.
take stock of where we might need help from somebody outside, as I mentioned.
What was the date, 17, 20?
And 22nd.
17, 20, 22.
20 I can, I've got a bunch of meetings that day. 17 to 22 would work.
And the only date that works for me is the 17th, and as I think I mentioned to you earlier, it has to be earlier. It has to be in the day, earlier in the day. So,
Do you mean
I'll be out of
before
town.
noon or is too early? Everyone has different definitions.
As long as it's over by, I would say 4 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah. That sounds great. I was gonna say, first thing Monday morning would be a little bit hard to get all the preparation ready, but
Right.
yeah, if we could do 1, maybe it's 1 to 3 or 2 to 4, that's perfect.
Okay.
Is that the 20?
That's the 17th.
17. Okay.
I'm not,
We can confirm that and post that.
Okay, yeah. Don't want to take up everyone's time with this.
I'm not available the
Okay.
17th, but.
Okay, we'll work it out.
And I do want to just make a note on the budget. I did speak with Chris Rorig, was it yesterday or yesterday? And it was his understanding that the budget is about 90% complete, which is in line kind of with what you had mentioned, John, about the budget being quite far along. So that was his report.
make it, it's not trouble hearing you. You said the thinking was that it was 90%?
That's correct.
Okay, well, that's encouraging, but again, that's, you know, we have to agree with what's in that 90%.
Oh, absolutely. I just wanted to report on that.
That's good to know.
All right, so our next, item K is adopt rezoning recommendation for 2846 Hercules Drive. My understanding is that the, planning commission has approved this and recommend that we go forward with it.
Correct, does anyone need a quick recap?
No.
Yeah.
No. We all read it, nobody yet.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. Everybody, the whole audience is shaking their head no.
No, okay, all right. Hey, well, I'm gonna talk about it in my planning commission update, so go ahead.
Okay.
I'll just read section 1 really quick for you guys. The zoning map provided pursuant to section 40-586 of the Township of Saugatuck Code, part of the zoning ordinance is amended to show the following property is in the I-1 Industrial Zoning District and no longer in the C3 zoning district. All right, so, now does this have to be by a roll call vote? Yes. Somebody want to make it a motion to approve the rezoning? Yeah, that's fine. Yes.
I move to, authorize or approve the recommendation from the planning commission to rezone the property at 2846 Hercules Drive from C3 to I-1. I'd second that.
Any further discussion? No. Would all in favor please say yes?
Yes.
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 Wait, you know what, I'm sorry, this has to be a roll call vote. Aldrich?
And Abby.
Oh, Abby calls us, I'm sorry.
Bigford, yes. Marcy?
Yes. Aldrich. You're right,
I never
long
said
meeting.
Aldrich. Yes. I'm laughing at Bill Webster for doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A walking buddy.
And then we have, speaking of the applications for the, is that the zoning?
Board of Review. Taxes.
Okay.
Hold on, just slow down.
Okay.
I didn't.
No, I just,
Okay. So, it is my understanding that, yes, for the tax board of review, they need 3 people on that board, and there are only 2 right now. Sherry Mason asked me to recognize in this meeting Don Mader for many years of service on that board. But right now there are only 2 people serving on that board, and we need to increase it to 3. So we can open that up to applicants. I understand that there are at least 1 interested party, but I think we should open it up to applicants and potentially publish that with the other open seats.
Sounds like a good idea.
I agree, and we don't need a separate motion.
If we want to be consistent
Okay.
with what we.
So I have a question, do we have, sample or past, again, postings for this, or did you say there were applicants we know of already interested?
2 questions. There is an applicant, at least 1 that I know of, that Sherry Mason has spoke with and that she recommends. However, I think we do need to open it up And I do not know if there's a sample of how we have
Okay.
posted that in the past.
Okay. Yeah, my only suggestion on this one would be, because border review is so specific and unique compared to other committees and commissions, that we run this post by itself and not add it to the other one we're running. I guess then we'll look to see if we have them from the past.
Well, I'll go ahead and motion that we approve publishing this separately from the others in commercial record on May 4th, same day we're doing the others.
I'll second that.
Further discussion?
By this, you mean the open seat on the board of review?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, open seat on the board of review. Any further questions or comments?
No.
All in favor, please answer by saying yes.
Yes. Yes?
All opposed, oh, yes. All opposed? Okay, carried. All right, the last item. This is the, emergency access to Lakeshore Drive. This is the letter we received, from Ed Wells. In addition to being on the Planning Commission, I am on the board of the LMSA. Several years ago, we had some discussions with the township regarding an emergency access to Lakeshore Drive somewhere off Wiley Road. The emergency access would also allow for foot and bicycle traffic. We would like to renew that effort. We have several members that live by the washout who've indicated they are not opposed to the emergency access roadway. If you could please give me some dates that you, Dana Bird, and anyone else you would want to include, I will get our people lined up. We will include Richard Donovan, Dag Keller, Rich Forbes, and myself. I look forward to hearing from you in advance. And then, I think we had, was it Dana?
Yeah.
That was going to speak to that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Dana Bird, Township Engineer and Township President.
Really loud, the mic isn't working.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Dana Bird, Township Engineer with Frein and Newhoff. And maybe just to introduce this topic, I'll just read the first couple paragraphs of my proposal here. So,
That's fine.
in February 2018, Frein and Newhoff completed a report outlining potential non-motorized and emergency access alternatives around the 1986 Lakeshore Drive washout. Following that report, we were tasked with initiating discussions with property owners and collecting stakeholder feedback on possible routes. These discussions occurred mostly between March and October of 2018 last year. Stakeholder feedback was generally positive, but at this time, as a complicated issue, no easement commitments have been made. Further input and direction will be needed from the board or a representative of the board to advance the current conversations and determine possible next steps regarding this effort. And so that's where I had talked with Brenda briefly before the meeting. I had been in the process of having this conversation with Chris and Natalie before the change. And so Brenda and I had kind of a last minute conversation trying to bring her up to speed on it. And the question was, well, how would we go forward? The email from Ed suggested maybe a subcommittee, as Bill suggested. I think Chris was thinking along those lines. So I had sent this proposal that's in your packet, and I apologize, it's kind of last minute, just to have something, if you wanted to act on it, that would authorize our company to participate in those meetings. I did go back and look at previously we were authorized to go up to $6,000 in consulting on this, and we're only a little over $5,000 now, so we do have some time to attend some additional meetings, whether it's you and I that meet, or our first meeting if you do create a subcommittee on this issue. And so that's the purpose of the proposal that's in the packet. This issue's been around obviously for over 30 years. In 1986, Lakeshore washed out and it was never put back, and it's been that way for 30 years. In September of 2017, there was a public hearing. I think it was at the high school, and it was attended by probably over 100 people. And in our report, we talk about that too. But there seemed to be pretty broad support for creating some kind of either non-motorized or pedestrian access around Lakeshore, as well as having an emergency access route through there. And so that's what initiated our involvement in doing this study and talking with property owners, because any route that's possible around there is going to involve easements from private property owners. And so the first question was, is it even possible? What would make sense? Who would we go talk to? And so we did that. We identified routes, we went and talked to people, got a lot of feedback. It's a complicated issue. Any possible route or construction would be hundreds of thousands, if not up to $1 million to do. But, you know, so it's a long-term effort that would involve grant funds, involve, you know, collaboration with the county, you know, possible conversion of things to public road or right-of-way with an easement. And so, you know, those conversations were had to kind of set the framework, but we really need to move forward some kind of engagement or pathway where I, as a consultant, can meet with folks at the township and talk through some of these more complicated issues. We can go meet with property owners, someone who's able to make some decisions about how we want to go forward with it. And so that's kind of where the issue is at today. If you have any questions, I'm happy to.
In your experience, is it really difficult to get people to agree in an easement? I mean, how hard of a process is that? Is there only one person that just says no, and what do you do then? I mean...
Right, so it depends. If everybody's in favor of it, generally, and you can find some common ground, you can work with them to come to an agreement. You know, sometimes you compensate folks for easements. We get a lot of easements for things like bike paths and public utilities. And usually you can kind of work with a person to see that it's in the best interest of everyone to do it. But there's no guarantee. I mean, we can't, unless you want to go a condemnation route, which nobody usually wants to do that, you know, you can't force someone to give you an easement. And so, and the approach that we took with property owners was, hey, no one's forcing this issue. We just want to find out what you think about it. And so, you know, when we met with a half a dozen to a dozen people that live around there to talk about it, some of them were not in favor of it, and so we would go talk to the next property owner who might be in favor of it to see if they would give us an easement. So we looked at different routes along the way, and so, you know, there's no guarantee that this will become anything, but there seems to be a lot of public support for it. You've got two lakeshore associations, one on the south side, one on the north side, that seem pretty engaged with the issue. And so the question is, do we want to keep talking about it?
I personally would love a way to get through there. I'm telling, I tried one day. I've got the scars to prove it. I mean, it's...
If anyone can get through, you'd get through.
Even I couldn't do it. But, yeah, I feel it would be such a benefit to be able to walk through there, ride a bike through there, but, you know, I don't know how to... Unfortunately, there's no way to go in front by the washout, correct? I mean...
Right, yeah, there's really no existing road right away. If there is some that exists, it's on the precipice of a huge drop-off, and it would take quite a feat of engineering to shore it back up within the limits of that. And so the options we were looking at involve easements going back around through properties, back and around the connection. So.
Now, I just want to be clear, this is the potential committee that Bill Rowe offered to serve on, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Earlier tonight.
When you
What?
say...
Right, earlier tonight, correct?
Yeah. No, that's actually, no. I mean, I just wanted to clarify that. And Dana, I'm thrilled to hear this kind of kicking into a higher gear, because we also get inquiries and complaints in the township office about the fact that, where the washout occurred, the homeowner there has pretty much encroached and taken over the public space, the road itself, and has, I remember driving Natalie around to show her that just as part of her orientation to things going on
would think it'd have to be.
Yeah, so it would have to meet the IFC requirements to have vehicles come through, so, you know, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but at least 20-foot driving surface
Yeah, you can
that
come.
can support,
Yeah.
emergency vehicle access. So it wouldn't necessarily be 20-foot paved, it could end up being that way, and then with controls on either side that would be acceptable to the fire department. Obviously, the fire department would be a key partner in the whole
Right,
conversation.
in the committee, I would assume. Right.
Yeah, and, you know, but there were sketches included in the report that could be something like a 10-foot paved path with then supported shoulders of some sort on either side. And so there's a lot of different ways you could design it. But the first step would be finding out, is a route possible and what would the property owners agree on. You could say we've had a lot of conversations that we're heading the right direction, but it's a complicated issue, and so it really needs a champion or a way that the township can engage with some of the decision making, and I can get somebody up to speed on it. You know, I talked with Natalie a little bit about various forms of public input. She was gonna think about coming up with a plan for that. You know, but at this point, it could be just meetings with me and a board member, or if you wanna have a committee, we could have an initial committee meeting, and I can kinda lay out where things are at this point, and, go from there.
Yeah, I wanted to hear from you.
Started working on this in 2005 with Chief Block.
Right.
And I really appreciate Dana's support of the International Fire Code. Here's what we had in mind: a very low impact two-track. You know, Dana's correct, the fire code is 20 feet. In this situation was strictly very limited access, gated or chained, very low impact, two-track 12 feet wide. We're not going to be passing one another, it's just to get from point A to point B. So Dana's correct at 20 feet. We don't need that. John, Chief Block, and I supported 12 feet. We don't want a runway going on these people's roads if they want us to have access. My recommendation is, you know, you consider a lower impact road. We're not going to impose 20 feet for this emergency access. We've done secondary accesses of 12 feet on subdivisions that are 31 or more houses. Right, Dan? We've done that because we didn't want to impose having this concrete asphalt type situation. And it was to be chained, and we would have a Knox key that only the fire department has, so vehicles don't transit on that. That was something that would, when we go to it, we would open up. Police don't have a key, ambulances don't have a key, we have the key. That's the way it's usually done.
But you could walk or bike on it.
That's up to you.
Right, okay.
We don't,
I mean,
that's not up to us.
okay.
If the people want, and I was at that meeting, and it sounded, what I heard was, we're okay with a low impact emergency drive, and I don't want to speak for the residents, but there was a lot of reception to considering that. But I just wanted to point that out. We are more than willing to consider 12 feet. Anything less than that starts ripping the mirrors off the trucks.
Yeah.
You
And
could
then
get a
let's
fire
see-
truck in there?
Yes.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, so it
And
would
then-
look and
yeah.
feel like a pedestrian-friendly environment,
A two
but
truck.
it would function as,
Right.
Some gravel.
You know, there's some crushed concrete down there, gravel. Also, you know, it's gotta be plowed in the winter, so somebody has to plow the right way, but we are not requiring asphalt or concrete. But I do appreciate Dana's comments, but I wanted to throw that out.
That's what I was curious about.
Originally, Chief Block had that set up, he wanted to go down the utility easement. At that time, it was pretty clear. I went there 1 year, 2 years ago with Mr. McElwain, and there's garages built on the power easement. So we eliminated that whole thing went out. So, you know, Dana's firm is the engineer, they might be able to find another route. But obviously, it's real critical to us. I've had, no offense, Dana, I've had engineering plans on my desk, I couldn't even get a truck to make the turn. One of them was a school.
Oh, I remember.
We couldn't even make the turn. So, you know, I encourage you to involve the fire department
Oh,
on the
right.
design.
Yeah.
And this is the first I heard about the 20 feet.
Oh, well,
If I had known that, I would have said, I don't need that,
okay.
Right.
but I never heard a word about it.
It sounds like this might be an alternative to the other, remember the other estimates from February of, I think it was 18? So it sounds like a two-track might be a more reasonable, cost-wise.
Yeah, certainly, yeah, you don't have to build
Yes.
this wide or have to.
Yes.
We just didn't want, you know, we didn't want to impose that on the people. All we need is that, and we've done 12-foot lanes before, so that's why I encourage you to consider that. Work with Dana on how do you meet the needs of everybody. The whole purpose was emergency access. You know, we have a graph that shows time delays on where does it make sense to go. You have to go south to go north.
Right.
And none of that matters until you're having a heart attack or a fire. Then all of a sudden it becomes a big deal. We had a woman there, we had to cross on two people's lots to give her oxygen when she lost power. So we had to park the truck and the guy let us run across his, and it was pretty frequent, run across her property, either take her to an ambulance, and everyone was real cooperative. But if it was me, I don't want a huge runway down my property.
No.
Hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks, Dana.
Yes. Thank you.
Dina, this was the first that I heard that, there was money authorized to this prior. You had mentioned that earlier, way earlier, and there's about $1,000 remaining of that, is that correct?
Yeah, yep.
Just into, you know, investigating options on this project?
Correct, yeah, we were authorized to spend somewhere in the range of $4,000 to $6,000 having these initial conversations, and we're right at about $5,000.
So potentially, we would not need to authorize the additional $4,000 today.
Correct,
And you could
yeah,
still
yeah,
stay
it's
involved
like I
in
say,
it.
I
You-
apologize, because it kind of came up all last minute, and
Okay.
didn't get in a packet in advance, so we didn't have a lot of time to talk about it, but then I discovered, yeah, that we are previously authorized to, you know, which will be of another 6 to 8 hours of meeting time,
Okay,
So basically what we have left is 1,000.
yeah.
which is equates to about 6 to 8 hours of his time, which I would think would be sufficient between now and.
To start the conversation?
Right.
Okay.
Let me, I don't know, Tiffany, I wanted to go into something that's not directly related to your questions to you, so, but you can sit down or not. Unless people have questions for Dana?
No.
I think I have mine answered.
Or you can stand, it's okay.
Yeah, you can stay there and take
I sit all day, so while you're talking about it, I'll just stay here.
Yeah.
So.
That works.
If you were to finish up what we have left, would you want the whole committee or just one person from the township? I mean, what's your suggestion? Is it harder to do it with a lot of people?
I mean, however you'd wanna do it, you know, it's easier to get one person to kinda champion it and get up to speed before we would go into a committee meeting, just so someone is up to speed on it, but, I mean, however you prefer to do it, I'd be willing to have that conversation if you did make a committee.
Well, Brenda talked, she's on the road committee, and that would be under her umbrella. I'm on the fire board,
So it could be under yours as well.
yeah, but I'm really interested in this, and
Okay.
would you wanna do it together? And
We could, but you could also, I don't see why you couldn't spearhead it if you wanted to. I don't know if we have to decide that now, but I think we're very interested in revisiting this whole
Yeah.
subject.
Yeah, I think it came up because of the recent correspondence, and it was a
Yes.
continued thing we've been
Yeah.
talking about, with Chris and Natalie, and so just to get it on your agenda so that you guys can come up with a way to move it forward if you choose to do that.
let's do it together.
Okay, sounds great.
Just to share what, Chris Rohrig did, send an email regarding some of the agenda items, and, or that he would like to see on the agenda, or that he commented on. And his feedback on this issue is, a request from Lake Michigan Shore Association to construct an emergency access route. The board should decide whether they want to pursue this, and then have Township Engineer Dana Bird work with a committee to investigate the potential options. Brenda and one of our Saugatuck Township Fire District representatives should lead that committee, in my opinion. So, I guess we, you know, are we comfortable, do we need to authorize the committee now? Like, say if you two met with Dana,
And maybe whoever you were thinking too, Ed, I don't know, eventually we'll get to that, so.
So we probably don't need a motion if we have 3,000 to start with. The motion would be to approve his proposal. But I do think, I mean, I would like to move forward and form a committee. The first meetings, again, don't have to be with the committee. I think that your idea is very good, that just get someone up to speed to champion the cause. And definitely with the people that,
and definitely a fire.
Yeah, well, yeah, have to have
That knows
fire person.
what they're doing. Yeah. Even though I'm on the board.
We certainly are not the subject matter experts in these areas. So, so do you think we need to entertain a motion just to approve to form the committee, or?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I guess, would you need a month to get with Dana individually and, get up to speed? Would you want to form a committee before June 5?
No, I think probably with his recommendation to meet separately with him and then form the committee. Especially given what the urgent matters we're dealing with right now. So, it would probably be better if we could, if it would be all right to even wait a month to start talking. I don't know if we need to do that.
Yeah, I guess, just a point on timing, so
Yeah.
we've been having this conversation for quite a while.
Yes,
2017, and, some of the properties that we've talked to people about are for sale. And so there's a potential that stakeholders can change, as time goes on.
Right.
And so that would be my only comment on timing. I mean, we had the conversations back in October. I've been contacted from some of those people saying, what's going on with this? Are we still talking about it? And so just kind of the longer it sits, the longer things can change.
Okay.
And I guess just to be aware of that.
Okay.
It's not, obviously there's a lot of urgent matters that the township's attending to, so.
Right.
But just, that's my only comment on time.
Okay, so sooner is better because of the possible changing of ownership of property, correct? Okay.
People just changing their minds, right? Or
Yeah.
losing steam. Sounds like there's some interest right now from the property owners.
So John, unless you have any disagreement, I would like to.
Yeah, I think we're actually, it sounds like we're having the first committee meeting, so I endorse the idea of a committee, and I think we should avail the offers of our two planning commissioners, Welk and Rowe, to participate. I think that's a great idea. And I think change of ownership might actually garner some more support.
It's hard to know. Right?
What's that?
It's hard to know which.
I know, but it could go that way.
Right.
As Dana said, it's not 100% buy-in right now, but I think when we educate people on the critical public safety aspect of it, it might change.
Yeah, so I don't want to drag our feet, but just, we're concerned about these couple of positions. But yes, I definitely think we should go with your recommendation to form a committee and include the people who have expressed interest in serving on that committee, as well as the whomever Greg would choose to represent the fire department. And maybe a couple planning commission people and one of us could meet with you originally to get us up to speed.
Right. Well, no, that's like you say, Welk and Rowe are on planning commission, so.
Right.
Let's avail ourselves of that and see if these guys can have maybe an informal meeting first and maybe recommendations on the structure of a committee, and then we can move forward with that.
And we certainly could fit in a meeting soon.
Sure.
Yeah. So, are we good with not pinning down a date right now because we have to talk to the other?
Yeah, we'll
okay.
be in touch.
We'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Thanks, Greg. Okay. Committee report. Just another 2 hours.
I know. A lot going on.
Yeah.
You probably are having a cocktail.
All right, John, you're first.
No, I didn't say that.
John, you're first with Planning Commission.
All right, I get to talk again. Thank you. Well, unfortunately, the April 22nd Planning Commission was a rather significant one. update on actions that were taken.
Okay.
The first one, which you just voted to endorse and approve, but that was the first rezoning application in Saugatuck Township, for the purpose of medical marijuana growth facility. And that's the property near the south entrance to 196. That was passed 7-0 to rezone it into the I-1 industrial district. There was a second application also requesting the rezoning to C3. This property is towards the north entrance to 196, right across the street from Burger King. This rezoning application did not have a specified use, and they spoke very generally about the different things that the rezoning would allow them to do, but never said which they preferred or were intending to do. Because of that, this was denied by a 7-1 vote, although they were encouraged to come back when they could speak more explicitly about what the reason for their application. There was also a site plan application. You probably know about the proposed Big B Coffee that will go into the parking lot area at Spectators. The site plan was passed unanimously, but it's pending submission of a new, more recent survey because there are issues about where the property line actually starts towards the south side of the property. And then there was finally another site plan application. This is for the property next to the former Blue Star Nurseries. It's been an artist studio, and this site plan that was submitted and approved would allow her to upgrade it into an actual art gallery retail center. So they need to put in, bathroom facilities and things like that. So those were the main. That's what the planning commission did on April 22nd. Also, just for those that might want to attend, because they meet on the fourth Monday of the month, the May meeting will be held on June 3rd, because the fourth Monday of the month of May is Memorial Day. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one is Road Commission. That's me. I'm working with 3 different groups of people on some issues they're facing with paving issues, and I've been working with Craig Atwood at Allegheny County, and he is wonderful to deal with, and so that is ongoing. One involves moving hospice